Howdy folks, it's Harrison, and I figured I would do a quick video today on leather sewing. I'm working on a project, and I figured, well hey, while I'm working on this, I'll do a quick video and see if it helps anybody out that is interested in doing some leather sewing. So what I'm working on today is a pair of Farrier chaps. Sorry, I got it turned over. I'll flip it back this way. And what I'm doing is I'm adding a few extra rows of stitching just to reinforce and make it stronger. And as you guys can see, I've pre-drilled my holes. There's 3 layers of leather that I'm going to be going through. There's an upper patch, the original leather from the original chaps, and then another one that almost mimics the same on the other side. So we're going to be going through 3 layers of leather, and that's why I went ahead and pre-drilled the holes. If you guys have thinner leather or not as many layers of leather that you're going to be sewing, you don't have to pre-drill your holes, but I decided to pre-drill these where it's really thick. I'm going to be using this guy right here. This is my main tool I'm going to be using today. It's called the Speedy Stitcher or the Sewing Owl. I don't know if I said that right. Maybe that's the bird. But anyhow, this is what I'm going to use. These are, around $6-7 on the internet, and they are great to have. You're going to be sewing a lot of projects. You might want to invest in a leather sewing machine, which hopefully I'll be getting one soon. But if you're just doing small repair jobs and whatnot, this works great. So this is the main tool. Secondary tool, old-fashioned lighter. No, I don't get any paid, and this is an advertisement for Bic, but I use a lighter to burn the ends of the rope here and help keep everything organized, because this is 3 layers, or 3 strands, sorry, of nylon rope that's waxed together, and when you start sewing it becomes frayed, so I just like to burn the edges on that, and then also when you're done, when you cut it, to burn the edges on that as well. And a pair of scissors. So that's all we're going to need for this project today, and I'll just show you how I get started. So with no further ado, we'll flip her over and get started on the first hole. I don't know if you guys can see that. There's my first hole here. So in order to get started here, what I do is I face my sewing needle like so. And as you guys can see, the extra thread end is going up this way, following the stitching where I'm going to be going around. And that's important because whenever you stick it through, I'm going to be pulling some excess out, so that way when we do the locking stitch, we can cross it over and tighten it by hand. So go ahead and find your first hole, push the needle through, and if you have your holes pre-drilled, this is nice because it just comes right on through with no problems. And so all I did was, like I said, give it a nice push through here. I'm putting one finger on the back side of the reel and my thumb on this side, so that way it just keeps the reel from letting out extra string and bunching stuff up on me. So that's what I do on the first push. Come back over here, and you take your finger and you just pull out that little tail there. I don't know if you can see that. And what I like to do is, how long you need this tail is how long you want your first run of stitching. How long it's going to be is how much string you want to pull out here in the initial first punch through. And so what I like to do is just take the string, and now at this point obviously you can let go of the reel so you can allow your string to be pulled. And I pull out quite a bit here. And what I like to do is I kind of put it around where my holes are going to be, roughly, just real rough. Kind of see if I'm going to have enough to go all the way around. And it looks like I will, but just to be on the safe side, give it a nice little extra bit right there. So on this, clear some of the wax on here. The thread is waxed on here, so you get a little bit of residue. What I like to do now is hold on my tail here and pull out now with the sewing needle. And what that's going to do is, while you're pulling on this, it will allow the reel to let some slack on your string. And so I'll flip it over to show you guys what's going on. So on the back here, you can see my needle was in here, and I just pulled it out, and I pulled out some extra string here, a nice little tail, and that allows me to get some work done when I'm sewing, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here in a minute. So I like to pull out enough to where I can take the end handle here and put it either in between my legs or kind of put it on a shelf to hold it while I'm hand tightening the stitches, which you guys will see. So now the way you want to position your sewing owl when you go to the next hole up above is you want your string that's coming off of your needle here to be pointing towards the hole that you just went into. So this is the next hole here. We're going to push it in, and you can see my string is coming towards the hole that I just put in. And that's important, and I'll show you guys here in a minute. So now I put my finger back on the reel, pull my project back over, make sure I'm following the hole. Alright, now that I found the hole, sorry about that. Push the needle all the way through. Hope you guys can see that. And now what I do is I pull back a bit, and what you're going to notice is when you pull back on the needle, it's going to create a little loop, and I'll pull and exaggerate it just to show you guys. It will pull out a little loop like so on the end. And what you do with that loop there is you take the end of your tail here, you put it through the loop, you pull through, and then you set your tail back down. And now I'm going to come back over here and revisit the needle here, because this is pretty important. When you push your thread, pull your thread through that loop, you want the thread to be on one side of the needle like so in this picture. If your thread gets wrapped around the top of the needle and is coming down like so, it will tie a knot as soon as you pull it down, and you'll be all done. So make sure it goes on this side of the needle. I think that's picking it up pretty clear there. And now pulling down on the sewing owl on this side with your finger on the reel. Now, what's happening on the back side here, as you guys can see, is you're pulling the string and the slack through, and you can also see there's a little bitty tail here coming out. Now what that is the string on the other side that you just looped through. And now at this point, what I like to do is take my sewing owl and set it down. Take one hand and some fingers and grab this one, and then take your other hand on the other side and grab on this one. And what you want to do is pull tight on both sides of the string and lock that stitch in there. And what I mean by locking on there is, see, if I pull up on here, and I'll kind of over exaggerate, you can see that string from the other side coming through, and you can kind of see me pulling it back down to the leather every time I go to tug there. You want this little junction of these two to be in the middle of the layers of your leather, and then pull tight, equal pressure on both sides of the string. And what that does is it locks that junction in between those layers of leather, and it locks the stitch in. So there's one stitch done right there. So that's what you do over and over and over again. So I'll do one more stitch, or maybe a couple more, just to show you guys again. And that's going to be it. Oh, see, I already forgot a vital part. cinching the end of my tip here so that way it doesn't start unraveling on me. So you just singe that, pinch it, you're good to go, and you go round and round. So here, I'll do another one. Flip your project over. Remember to have your tail facing the hole that you just went through. That's important. Get my hands out of the way so you can see what's going on. Push through on the other side. Pull down. Create that little loop. Take your tail. Go through the loop. Pull the excess through. Put your tail down. Make sure that it's on the proper side of the needle there. Put a little bit of, you can hold down on this or not, it's just preference. I do. Pull back on your sewing owl. See, that will happen here. This loop that you guys seeing right there will happen if you don't keep your finger on the other side. So that's why I normally keep my finger on the other side, just so that big old loop doesn't come through. Pull a little bit more slack on my reel here so I can set it down. Flip the project back over. Now tensioning on both sides here of the string. And lock that stitch in there. Hands out of the way so you can see what's going on, and lock that in there. And as you guys can see here, you can't see the junction on the outside of the leather there, which is good. It keeps it all in between the layers and safe, and it keeps them together for a long time. So you just keep doing that, like I said, over and over and over again. And I'll do just one more, wrap this up. I know this is getting kind of to be a long video. Didn't mean for it to be, but I just wanted to show you guys, you know, in detail, kind of, you know, you guys are looking to do some projects like this, patching up stuff or fixing sails on sailboats. This is how to use one of these. So again, with your tail falling down, hand on the reel, find your pre-drilled hole. Push through, pull back, I'll pull that to exaggerate, but that's what it looks like when you pull down. Take your tail, go through the loop, make sure you're on the proper side of the needle. Maybe that's a better shot there. Pull. On both sides of the string, pull some tension. And lock that stitch in. Well, alrighty, so after you ran your row of stitching and you're ready to finish it, I figured I'd show you guys how to finish it all up. So I'm through the last hole right now, and I shall show you how I take care of it. So just like before, when you push the needle through and you pull it down, you get this little loop. You take your tail, you put it through here. So this will be a little bit better of a close up on how to situate your thread across your needle. So if you were to keep running, this is what I was talking about how to have your thread going through your needle. That's how you want it. Now if it accidentally does this and pulls down like so and makes like that, like I said before, it'll tie off a knot and you'll be all done and you'll have to restart. So make sure that it's always on this side. So now to finish it up, what I do is, if you burnt the end of your string this time, what I like to do is I like to see if I can do this one-handed with the camera. Cut off the burn part, and what I do is I grab the handle of the sewing awl and the reel and I pull down. So now I pull down all the slack, and I'll flip it over, and you can see that little loop came through. And what I do is I pull on that loop until the tail comes out, and so that gives you plenty long enough string here to tie off on the back. And that's all I do, since I'm one-handed here and trying to finish up this video. You just take these two and you tie them together, and then you cut it off, you cinch it just like that knot up here, then you're all done. So I hope this helps you guys. Have a good one, and talk with you later.